Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So many of you know me from YouTube, but even before getting on YouTube, I was teaching at top business schools. For example, I used to do special classes at ISB, Stanford, Berkeley, Trinity College Dublin. So there was a venture that I used to run, which was called as Cases Over Coffee. And given the fact that I'd worked with leading management consulting firms, I used to talk about business building and management consulting at these leading business schools. And even till today, I get a lot of offers that, come and do this special class for our students, vagera. I mostly do not do that as of now. So I thought that why not do a special class for all of you where I will actually teach you how to build a business from scratch. Now you'll say, yaar, ye to bahut simple hai. Just go on Shark Tank, take money from a shark, start your business. That's done. No, that's not how it is. There are a series of steps that you need to go through. So I will talk about all these different steps. Second, to make this lecture interesting, I'm going to pick a practical case study about me starting my own holiday rentals business. Now, many of you who are following me on YouTube, you already know that I have purchased a lot of real estate. I'm converting a lot of it into holiday rentals business. So I will use that as practical experience. Now, very quick note, and this especially goes out to a lot of YouTubers who keep on targeting me. Akshat, you know what? You just like show some random real estate. Tumhari hoti bhi nahi hai. And you know what? You know nothing about AiRBnB business. There are uncle and aunties who will not let you run your AiRBnB. So, okay, let me show you some government document first, and then I will kickstart my lecture. So this is document number 1, which comes from Department of Tourism. This is the hotel license that I have. So it's not as if that I'm randomly giving you gyan. I actually have a license. That's one. And second key thing, that I have a leave and license agreement. So what is the meaning of this? Why have I signed a leave and license agreement? I'll explain those entire finer points. Now, the reason why I had to show these documents was that there is just random commentary that is going on. People would not even have stepped out of their comfort of the house to scout like 5 real estate, but they will give you all the gyan. But anyways, let me come back to the topic, and there are 6 specific steps that I'm going to explain on today's video as to how you can start your own business, thinking literally from step 0. Also, this video has been sponsored by Big Rock. More about them subsequently on the video. So the first key step of starting a business is that you need to ideate. So what is the meaning of ideation? So ideation simply means that you have to create a bunch of ideas. For example, you might think that, okay, my ice cream shop khol leta hu. I'll open like a shoe shop. I will open a t-shirt manufacturing business. I will start my own coffee brand. I will start my own YouTube channel. So what are you doing? You're basically generating a series of ideas. So basically the goal in step 1 is that you are trying to create a series of different ideas. Ideally, I would say that you should at least put down 30-40 ideas. If you are absolutely clueless what you want to do next, think about 30-40 ideas. Of course, not all ideas will be great. There will be a bunch of ideas that will be complete nonsense. You have to disregard them in subsequent steps. But the first key phase of thinking about starting up is that you need to generate a series of ideas. And that process is called as ideation. Now, if you are working with a startup or you are studying at a business school, then your cohort or circle will be such that you will be able to discuss a lot of things. For example, if you're at a business school, then people would be discussing different business ideas. Aapki padhai mein bhi yahi hoga. Your teachers might help you out, etc. etc. So environment is such where brainstorming becomes easy. And this is the number 1 method of generating more ideas, that you go and speak with people. Now, if you're not at a business school, then what can you do? You can go and show up for networking events. You can go and attend industry events. You can speak with your friends. You can speak with your family and friends. And that simple method of brainstorming, which means discussing stuff with each other, allows you to think about and generate more ideas. What is it that you are trying to do in the first stage? You are just trying to get more and more volume. That is the precise thing that you are trying to do. The second method that you can follow is called as storyboarding. Now, what is the meaning of storyboarding? This is a slightly advanced idea. Here, what you are doing is that you are thinking about the customer journey. Example that I would like to share is the example of the invention of shopping cart. Now imagine that you go to a supermarket or superstore, and just imagine that there are no shopping carts. Then what is it that you will see people doing? You will see that 50 box utha liye logon ne, sabun bhi utha liya, and they are like going like this, right? Stuffing everything together. So if you are envisioning the entire customer experience, that the first step will be that the customer will go to a supermarket. Second step would be that they will buy a lot of stuff. Third step would be that they might bring their own bag, stuff it, but kitna hi bhar lenge, right? So therefore, a good problem that can be solved for them is a shopping cart. So that is how probably shopping cart got invented. And through this simple example, I hope you got the concept concept of what storyboarding means. Third technique is called as mind mapping. So mind mapping allows you to solve an even more specific problem. So for example, let's say that you have written a book. You have a wonderful book. You know about like artificial intelligence, whatnot, and it is like, pumping everywhere. And you are very excited कि यार मैं तो बहुत अच्छी book लिख ली, and now I will go and sell like billions of copies or whatever, right? So okay, so what happens? That you write your book. Now you are looking to sell it, but it is not getting sold. Why? Because you might have a distribution problem that, you don't have enough money to put like Google ads, this ad, that ad. And on the flip side, you might not have social media presence. So how would you solve this specific problem? So for that, we think in structures. So that structured thought process is called as mind mapping. For example, one way of mind mapping or solving this specific problem of distribution could be that you build your own distribution. Second would be that you spend money on distribution. Third is that you tie up with a publishing house, right? And that allows you to sell more. They will probably take more commission and whatnot. So by doing this simple mind mapping exercise, you have been able to break apart a specific problem. So if you are able to think on these three lines, then point number one is that you will be able to identify a lot of problems that need to be solved. And second key aspect is that you will be able to narrow down that problem with some potential solutions. So this is precisely what happens in the ideation stage. So now you might have a natural question that Akshat, why did you decide to start like a holiday rentals business? What was the thought process behind it? Did you ideate about it? Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that my ideation exercise looked something like it. It was already very refined. So for me, I wanted to start an offline business. Now, what was the thought process behind it? Very simple, that online I anyways do a lot. I'm there on LinkedIn, Twitter, this, that. So social media already bahut ho chuka. So I wanted to actually build some kind of a physical business. And therefore I thought about the first key thing that, okay, so what is it that I can do in an offline space? And then my second point of consideration here was that I want to get into an activity or a business which does not require crazy amount of involvement from my side. For example, if I would have started a factory, क्या यार मैं साबुन बनाऊंगा या कॉफी बनाऊंगा, then that requires a lot more management of the supply chain, etc., etc. But if I simply buy a house and I list it online, or if I give it to someone, for example, a holiday rental manager, then I do not need to put crazy amount of time in terms of managing it. So that was my ideation process of starting a holiday rentals business. Now I'm sure that many of you would have an offline business that you would want to scale, but most people think that it is extremely hard and scratch their heads around it. Even I started my holiday rentals business in Goa, and at some stage as I scale this holiday rentals business, if I move from one villa to two villa to maybe owning 7-8 villas, then I will definitely need a website. So here is a very quick competition that suggests a website name for my holiday rentals business, and whoever wins gets a 2-night free stay at my Goa villa. So once I scale up the business, I will definitely need a website, and for this I can quickly go to Big Rock and I can look for .in domain names, which will help me create an online presence for this offline business. So similarly, if you want to start or reinvent your store or business, Big Rock is the one-stop shop where you get .in domain names with affordable web hosting plans which start at ₹69 a month with 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's worth a try, so definitely go and check out Big Rock. So with that said, let's move on to creating step 2 for your business, where you have to narrow down your ideas. So from the ideation stage, you would have a lot of ideas. Now you can't possibly go and implement like all 30-40 ideas that you can think of. So what you need to do is that you need to apply something called as a SWOT framework in order to understand your own strengths, your weaknesses, and what is it that you can actually go and execute. So let me speak from my own experience as to what I thought in context of one of the businesses that I was picking, which is the holiday rentals business. What I thought was my strength and what I thought was my weakness, and why did I narrow down on the holiday rentals business. So very quickly, in terms of the strength, I would say that one, access to capital was one of my strengths. So I can definitely go and own the villas. So that becomes like an investment for me also, which hopefully will grow with time. And second is that I can generate some kind of cash flow or returns from it on immediate basis by doing holiday rentals business. So this was my first key strength. Second key strength was that I have at least some form of online distribution. So think about it this way, that if I'm listing my properties on traditional portals, those portals are also going to charge some commissions. From whom? From the end customer. So for example, if you're looking to book a room in Goa, let's say 5,000, then 1,000 rupees from you will be charged by the intermediary portal only. So what can I do? I can simply list out my property at 4,500. So is this benefit for me? Yes, because some commission would be charged charged by the portal from my side also. So maybe I'm able to say 500 rupees. Is it benefit for you if you're renting it? Yes, definitely, because a property that other people are listing at 5,000, I'm able to do it at 4,500. So this becomes my strength in terms of doing this business. So therefore, I picked up this idea. Now, by the way, many of you would say that, Akshat, are you listing your property right now directly, indirectly? Please check the description and comment box. I'm not listing it directly. I have given it to someone who does that. But yes, I'm buying more properties, and as it scales with time, I will probably create my own internal system. So for that, just keep an eye out on the description and comment box. So the weakness is that I have massive paucity of time. I have a young kid. I have a bunch of different things that I need to attend to. So I don't have a lot of time. And managing just one property was just not worth my time. So therefore, what I have done is that I have done a leave and license agreement, and you can clearly see this notarized, and it says leave and license agreement. I'm not sure if you're able to read it. Now, the reason why I'm speaking about this leave and license agreement is so that I can actually give you a proof. And even before that, let me show you the date of this particular license. This was made on 15th of March 2023, right? So this is what the date says. And there is one important clause that I would like to read from, and I would put a snippet somewhere here so that this can actually help you understand what type of arrangement am I getting into. So here you can see that I will make fixed 75,000 on this property, or whichever is higher, 60-40, 60 in my favor. So for example, usually in Goa, what happens is that during Christmas season, the price of property almost doubles or triples. So during those in-season months, I'm going to make a lot more money than 75K. So at average bhi bitha lo, then also I'll make roughly 90 to 1 lakh every month from this property without me doing any other thing. Why? Because I have done a leave and license agreement with another party, which is a proper company, which will take care of my villa. They will rent it out. They will do everything. So yeah, I hope you got the perspective. Now, many of you would think, yaar, kitne ka villa kharida, this, that. So I've done a separate video on that topic. So please go and check it out and run your own math. I'm showing you all this proof because there are like just a lot of nonsense things that are posted online that, you know what, you did not even buy the villa, or you know what, tumhe nahi aata karna this. So I'm showing you all the proof. Now, the third step in terms of deciding which business to start, whether or not you should be doing it, you need to do something called as ROI analysis. So ROI simply means return on investment analysis. Now, there are multiple methods in terms of doing ROI analysis. For example, VC, PE, management consulting firms, investment banking firms, they create like big spreadsheet models. And jahan pe wo Excel valuation kar dete hain, you know what, okay, itna cash flow hai, this, that. So much complication you and I cannot do. But we can get a very good handle on the investment side of things. Now, what is the meaning of investment side of things? Again, going back to my example of starting the holiday rentals business, I have a very clear figure कि यार मेरे को इतना खर्चा करना है on the holiday rentals business that I am starting. So what do I need? How much money do I need to spend? For example, let's assume that I bought this villa for 2 CR. So what is my total investment? 2 CR. And on top of that, I would have to put in a little bit of money for like denting, painting, and, you know, buying furniture, interiors, all that. So you assume 10 lakh more, right? So in 2.1, that is my total investment on this business. So when you do not have a lot of experience in terms of starting your businesses, do not get involved in highly capital intensive businesses unless you understand the investment equation, because that is fairly easy to understand and grasp, right? Here you cannot miss because you are paying this amount, and this is like very logical कि इतना पैसा आपका खर्चा हो ही जाएगा if you are trying to start something of this nature. So the investment is very easy to understand. The problem happens on the return side, that many of you might be interested in starting a holiday rentals business in Goa. Now, what you will imagine, you will go and speak with like 5 agents and 50 people. They will all say that uncle, auntie will not you start this and that. You will get dissuaded, right? So please don't get dissuaded with all that. Please do your own due diligence. Again, do you think that government will give you a hotel license to run in a complex or in a society where uncle, aunties are creating issues? Use your common sense. But anyways, coming back to the topic that, hey, when it comes to returns, this is very difficult to predict. So yahan pe what you should do is that you should work with the worst case assumption, right? Now, if you are buying a property, what is the worst case assumption rule that I have told you? I have told you something called as 4% yield rule. Now, what does that mean? That, for example, if my villa cost is 2 CR, then at 4%, how much money should I be making from my venture? So I should be making minimum 8 lakhs on every year basis. This way, I will be getting 4% yield on my property. Now, I showed you that my 75K is the absolute worst case scenario for me. On top of this, if you do a 20% top up, because because in season I will be making much more than 75k. Then on an average, if you assume 1 lakh, then this is 12 lakh. And if you take out like society maintenance, which is like 50k a year, then it gives me 11.5 lakhs. So which is like very healthy yield for me. And that is how I ended up doing ROI computation for this business. Now, very quickly contextualizing it to what you might need. For example, if you are starting an online business, now those type of businesses are not infra heavy. So वहाँ पे आपको investment के बारे में सोचने का it's not very beneficial from that perspective because your investment will be low to begin with. But yes, your time investment will be very high. So when you are starting asset-light businesses, you don't need to worry too much about investment or doing this ROI analysis. You need to worry about this ROI analysis on capital-intensive businesses. Now, there are a lot of things that I can talk about in this ROI analysis, but very quickly explaining you that many people start businesses on debt. Please only do that if the ROI of that business makes sense, because when you take a debt, you have to pay a loan and that goes into your financing cost of the business. So your cost goes up quite aggressively. So please remember all those basic points. I'm telling you a basic model here. Of course, go and speak with people who know more about valuations. If you don't know how to create like a basic Excel spreadsheet where you can do cash flow projection, then speak with an expert, pay them a little bit of money. You will get much more clarity about your business. Then comes the fourth stage, which is called as doing due diligence. Now, what is the meaning of due diligence? Due diligence का मतलब होता है, जैसे I told you that, you know what, usually the perception is that in Goa society, you can't do AiRBnB, all these problems will be there. Okay, so let me take you to the notice board of my society and show you the official announcement from them. So you can see from here that it is allowed, and I had sent an official email to my society that I am doing AiRBnB business. Now, why am I bringing? Because this becomes a part of your due diligence. Now, not every society in Goa allows you to do holiday rentals business. So whenever you are going and purchasing a property, you need to ask these basic things, do basic due diligence. So this is in context of the holiday rentals business. अब आप बोलोगे मेरे को तो इसमें कोई interest नहीं है. So how does this due diligence applies to me? Well, it does, because any type of business that you are starting, for example, if you are starting an online business, then please read about rules and regulations. You might have to make a limited liability company or a private limited company. You might have to get GST registration done. So there are a lot of things that you need to understand, that your idea is good and everything is great. ROI also makes sense. But if the business fails in the due diligence space, then it becomes a problem. Let me give you another example. For example, these days there is a lot of prachalan that we will buy a land and we will do construction. Now, doing construction is a very heavy hitting job. It requires a lot of understanding about local laws and regulation. So from that perspective, if you do the ROI computation on buying a land and building your own villas and then doing AiRBnB, great model, right? You will make crazy amount of money, but can you get the construction done? A lot of due diligence needs to get into that. So these basic things need to be checked out, and that is called as due diligence process. And this is something that you need to do irrespective of the business that you're starting. So once these 4 stages are done, you move to step 5, which is actually building the product. So here, the first stage usually is called as minimum viable product, which is called as MVP. So let me demonstrate it by using my own holiday rentals business idea. So in the future, let's say 20 years down the line, I have a vision that maybe I'll have like 20 properties, and uspe I will do holiday rentals business. Now, what is the proof of concept or minimum viable product that I'm building here? It's the villa. So I have purchased one villa. Now I will see कि यार अच्छा ये चीज ठीक चल रही है. If it is going well, then I will pour in more money into this industry. So what does this first villa does for me? So it creates a proof of concept or a minimum viable product. Now, whenever you are trying to create any type of stuff, for example, you are trying to create an electric scooter, right? Then you need a basic working model. उसमें आपको ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए headlight अच्छी दिख रही है, seat अच्छी दिख रही है, वगैरह वगैरह. No, basically it should work, it should be safe, and you have some prototype ready. So that stage is called as MVP. And my personal advice should be that in this stage, you need to be extensively involved. ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि यार मुझे कुछ आता नहीं है real estate के बारे में, I don't know anything about electric scooter. Then don't get into that line. Because when you're starting your business, you will have the least help. You will have to do almost 90-95% of work on your own. You will not have the money to outsource most of it. So you should pick things where you can either learn about it and grow that business and create that MVP, or you have to spend very little money in order to create that basic product. So this is literally the first stage that you need to worry about. So once your MVP is ready, then you need to think about distribution. Now these days, you might have seen that a lot of businesses spend crazy amount of IPL ad and this ad, that ad, and then no profitability left. unicorn ban gaye hain, but zero profits. So yeah, or negative profits. So that becomes like a headache. You can't play this type of a game. So you need to think about distribution, how you are going to market the product. Some of the ways are to grow slowly and grow organically. So you should not think about ki acha 3 saal mein I'll build like a unicorn. What's the point of having a unicorn if you're not able to generate even 1 rupee in profit and are taking so much stress on your head? So that is my personal opinion. Of course, people can disagree, but I hope you got the perspective that distribution is something that you need to have a handle on. Now, many a times, one of the mistakes that I've seen people make is that they will start a business but will lose majority of the equity just to get money to market their product. And then they are left with no incentive in order to even run their company, because 70-80% equity chali gayi. Then why would you even work for your own company? So please do not make all these mistakes. Learn a little bit about distribution building. So basically, if you have a product, if you have your basic distribution figured out, and if your product is going into the hands of customers, and if they are getting good experience, collect some testimonials. For example, if you go and check my stock market course, wonderful testimonials. Why? Because I spend a lot of time with my students, give them additional value, give them a lot of free things. For example, I'll do an advanced class of this particular topic with my students. So I'll keep on doing all this stuff. Why? Because it creates a win-win. It creates a win for them. They are getting a lot of useful material. It creates a win for me because my product is getting stronger. So this is called as testimonial building stage. So 3 quick points. 1, find PMF, product market fit. Second key point, think about distribution. And third, collect testimonials and feedback. So then comes the last stage, which is called as scaling up stage. Now, basically, any business will have 2 parts. One is called as 0 to 1, and the second part is called as 1 to n. So this is my variant of Peter Thiel's philosophy. In 0 to 1 stage, the first 5 steps that we spoke about, those have been wonderfully achieved. So that stage completes your 0 to 1, and now you are ready to scale up. Now scaling can happen in multiple fashion. For example, coming back to my holiday rentals business example, if I'm very confident, yaar, ek villa manage ho jayega, then what is the second thing that I would do? I will probably learn about construction. I will learn about different things. I'll buy a land, create like 10-15 more villas, and then I will make it a huge project. Why? Because I have very good faith that I will be able to run this business. So that stage for me would be called as 0 to 1. That enough proof of concept has been generated. This business is already big. 1 to n would mean that now I am raising money, I am spending crazy amount of marketing money, and I'm scaling everywhere, right? Not only in Goa, but 50 different locations, and I'm trying to become something like Oyo. No, please don't worry. The quality of my holiday rentals will be much higher. Don't compare it with Oyo. I just used it as an example. But I hope you got the perspective of 0 to 1 versus 1 to n. I'm more of a 0 to 1 type of a guy, that I will build, get it to a decent scale, and I will close it out. I would want to retain control over my business. I'm not bothered about getting like a lot of external investors, दूसरों का पैसा उठा लिया, all that stuff, because it puts undue pressure on me. So I have no such vision. So I can only talk about 0 to 1 stage. 1 to n means putting petrol on fire. So then you are trying to scale really fast. It can be a highly risky game. It can be a highly rewarding game. Since I do not have experience, I'll not speak about it. But I hope you enjoyed this detailed session on business building. If in case you want to learn more about business topics, do comment and please like and support these type of videos. It will give me an indication that you are liking these type of topics, and I'll continue to make them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.